Back on Inside Tennessee, John North.
Mayor, there's a big building downtown called the AJ building that a lot of people are very interested in, myself included. And I know that staff has quietly been talking with the school system and TVA perhaps about moving central offices in the AJ building for the school system to that building. I'm curious if you can talk about that, and I gather, took a little peek in the back of your budget, and there's an allusion to the potential for moving the school system someday. Can you talk about that?
We've had some really good talks with TVA, and we've actually have been in the process of negotiation. At this point, don't have anything concrete that I can say yes or no. In the end, that's a decision that we have to make for the fiscal best interest of Knox County. The AJ building is older, it costs a lot to keep up at this point. So we just have to look at the overall picture and say, is this something that's going to save us money in the long run?
There are a lot of developers that would like that building.
Yeah, well, and it's a great location. And it sounds like TVA has a pretty sweet deal if you can get it done.
Well, as I said, we've been in the process of negotiation, so we should hopefully know something in the not too distant future.
And otherwise, it's an awful deal. They need to come back with a better one.
Yeah, thanks for sinking his leverage there.
I bet they're not sitting at
Way to
home.
go, John. Thanks.
They're not sitting at home saying that, I suspect.
Glenn, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you, and you may not be able to comment much on it, but two employees, whistleblowers, have brought a lawsuit. It's on your watch, so to speak. You have, I believe you were ultimately the one that approved their dismissals. Can you talk about what's happening there and what the background on that is?
I can't. It's pending litigation, so unfortunately I can't.
That's always the great job of those darn lawyers. So, do you feel like, though, there's a culture, whether you inherited it or not, within county government of sort of oppression and distrust? Because, look, in every organization you hear that, but I'm curious to whether you think the overall morale is good and whether there's any dissension, whether it's left over from previous administration or now brewing because of other issues.
I don't think so. We have wonderful employees, and we do our very best to have a great work environment. So I don't feel that in any way.
One other employee change that happened under your watch, Roger Kane was hired to be the educational liaison. He's no longer in that position. And if I'm correct, I didn't see that as a line item in the budget. Right. Do you see in the future hiring someone to fill that position?
I don't at this point. It was something we tried and something that just didn't work out, unfortunately. So I don't see us putting anyone back in that position.
I want to ask you about, you've been in there a few months now. There's been a lot of talk in Knox County in the past about combining city and county governments. And we've been through the vote a couple of times and it's failed. Where are you? I mean, are you thinking there might be some things that could still be combined, or would it be smart of us to look at that consolidation in the future?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think there are things definitely that we could combine, and do a better job with, and that would save the taxpayers overall in Knoxville and Knox County. There are just, it's one of those things where there's arguments on both sides. The city, some of their issues are different than what we have in the county. So it's one of those things. I think it's best left up to the voters, and at this point they don't seem to have an appetite.
Yeah, the top cop was always
right. The top cop is
right. I mean, there's political issues as well. So,
right.
But Glenn, I mean,
the closer that the city and the county can work together on issues, the better, because everything's smoother and we can have a united front on many things.
As we pointed out in the show over the years, it's silly that if someone owns property in the city, that they walk to one end of the hall to pay their city tax.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of things like that.
And users, for example, of the parks and greenways, they don't care if it's in the county or the city. They're going to go to the park they like the best, the greenway they want to be on. Would those you can combine, or you and the city mayor could get together and say, you know what, we are going to consolidate services just as we did with schools and just as we have done. Are you a proponent of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime that we can have more efficiencies, I think we should. It's the old thing of, the city and the county send out tax notices in different envelopes. I mean, just combining those would save tens of thousands of dollars. Right. And that all has to come from somewhere, and it comes from the taxpayers.
Well, now might be a good time because you've got a new mayor coming into the city before very long. So might be a good time to have that conversation.
Chris Caldwell, you've been the beneficiary of being here in good times and seeing over a number of years, really almost the last decade or so, a pretty positive numbers. Are you concerned, talking to other economists or as a numbers man yourself, that there will be a dip in the economy in the coming months or years?
I think you're always concerned, so don't jinx anything.
John's already done that.
So I do believe, though, we always like to have a conversation with Dr. Fox at UT, and he sees continued growth, and we like to rely on his numbers. And so I think this budget has what we like to call a conservative growth look, about 2% growth in sales tax and about 1.5% growth in property tax. And so it's something that's average for us that we like to stick kind of close to and go from there.
Chris, I'm sorry, John.
That's all right.
So you're the numbers guy. The mayor we have 3 new schools coming, 6% increase in the sheriff's department, which is a large segment of the pie, 3% over at schools. Do you think that there's a property tax hike at some point in the future of this county? Because we have not had one in a long time.
20 years.
I don't think so. I think if you look right now, what you see is we had some debt that was rolling off that enabled us to do the 3 schools. Two of the 3 schools will not have increased operational costs, so I think we're okay.
Knox County would start selling Amway before they'd raise
That's right.
taxes.
We're going to take another quick break. Back with our last block of Inside Tennessee.